everyone. I'm Hilary Swift, and I'm from Vermont, and I'm very proud of that. And you'll see some work that I've done there and here. I just graduated from Brooks in Southern California, but I had 2 different internships while I was still a student. I interned in Reno at the Reno Gazette-Journal, and then in Fredericksburg with the Freelance Star in Virginia. Both are wonderful papers. You should go check them out. So I guess I'm gonna start with my portfolio a little bit, which is a pretty broad body of work. What really got me interested and, what really got me hooked on photojournalism started off as like protests. I spent a summer in Southern California just like photographing all the protests that were going on. Like most of them were like really small, like we hate this politician, I don't know. But eventually the Trayvon Martin protests began, and I went down into South Central and I had no idea where I was or like the people I was around or like really a lot of the history about that area coming from Middlebury, Vermont. But I quickly learned, and this is an image that I took there that I think really proved to be a turning point in my career. Yep, self-explanatory. This was an important portrait for me because I struggle a lot with portraiture and like getting people to like not only me being comfortable around them, but also like getting other people to be comfortable around me. And this is a gentleman who actually trained to be a fighter pilot in World War II, but didn't get to actually fly any planes in World War II. Like the war ended before he could go abroad. So I thought that his story was really interesting, and obviously he has the picture of himself down there, and that was a really good moment for me. And if any of you have any questions at any point, please feel free to ask them. I love questions. Drag shows. I shoot a lot of like live entertainment too. I think that there's a lot you can learn about like people, like the form of others and seeking out emotion. Because a lot of people will shoot like live concerts and such, but they'll miss the emotion. Prom. Who doesn't love prom? And funerals, which are always really difficult to photograph in any situation, and particularly this one. There was a 15-year-old boy who had been shot in a YMCA parking lot by another 15-year-old boy. And it had been an open casket, and people were like passing out all over the place. Well, 3 people passed out during the funeral. So it was an interesting thing to be a part, or to bear witness to an event like that. Reno Rodeo. And it didn't show the last one, but that's okay. Now we're going to talk about a project that I have been working on for a long time. I guess 2 years ago now, I started working on a personal project about my cousin who was addicted to heroin. The state that I'm from in Vermont has been having a heroin crisis, they're calling it, for the last couple of years. Well, in the last 10 years, the rate of heroin use has gone up by over like 700%, which is a bit crazy. Maybe some of you have read some of the articles about that, but I didn't really realize the full impact of it until it hit me and it hit my family, and I didn't really know how to deal with the situation. So I decided to start photographing her to show her mostly like what she was doing to herself, and also to kind of provide a barrier between me and her, so then I could still be the support that she needed me to be without, it was very important to have that. So this is her smoking heroin. I don't know if some of you may not know, but you can smoke heroin. This is detoxing, using, this is her mother, my aunt, taking care of her after a relapse when she moved back to Vermont from California. I'm trying to get better, going back. Really what I wanted to highlight with this project as well was like the cycle of use and relapse, and there are many other issues that come with it, including like body image. But how important relationships can be to getting better. She is now clean. She's like 7 months clean. But I haven't actually been able to go home to document that. And I don't know why it's not showing my last picture, but that was the last picture in the image, or in the series.
How old is she?
She's 22, same as me. So she started using when she was just about to turn 20. She was like 19, almost 20. And it's strange, like every time I go home now, somebody else is using or is back from rehab or is in prison. It's really a tragic thing that's happening in the community. But she's doing better now. So I'm gonna go home soon and I will be documenting that. So look for updates.
How often have you, or how did you kind of broach that subject with talking to your cousin about this? Because I couldn't imagine wanting you to take photos, of course.
Yeah. Well, at first, actually, the first series that I did with her was this was the first photo that I took of her, like that was in relation to her, like using. Like I've always been photographing her. She was my first model. Like we were best friends growing up, and she had just relapsed and she had left rehab and was at my apartment, and I just started photographing her and she got really mad. But then I showed it to her later and I was like, this is what you looked like don't do that. And it took her a while, but I think that eventually she mentioned to me that like she looked back on a lot of these photos and was like, I never want to be there again. So it was kind of a slow process about, I had never intended to do a story. It just kind of happened organically. And I'm glad that I did, because other people from the community or like my Vermont community have come up to me and been like, I saw your story, like I can relate to that, and seeing that helped me deal with what they were going through.
So I know in the like industry, especially for young photojournalists, people applying for internships, there's a lot of increased emphasis on stories, and I feel like a lot of young photojournalists are maybe losing the singles aspect of it.
Losing the what aspect?
The single image aspect of it. But yeah. I've noticed that like both of your parts of your portfolio are really strong. So how do you define yourself, like, as a photographer? Where do you like to put the emphasis? Where do you think you're going with your work? What does each part of that portfolio mean to you, and like how you've gotten to where you are? Okay.
Well, first, thank you, Mark. Mark Kozlerich is also, did I say it right? Yeah, is also a New York Times intern. Fun fact with me. So where do I see myself going? I think stories are really important. I think that shooting the single images, like you need to know how to shoot an image. You need to know how to compose something. You need to know how to compose something well. And if you can have your own vision or like your own specific eye or style, like that's even better. But I think stories there's, like you need to know how to be able to communicate with somebody else long enough to have them be okay with you being around them enough, and being able to follow someone through their journey or through their life or through a time in their life, I think is really beautiful. And it gives you an opportunity to really learn more about a subject or an issue more in depth, and communicate that with others. Because a single image can be very powerful, but a series of single images along the same theme can really, really impact you. I mean, one of the most influential stories I ever saw was Paula Bronstein's photos about the women in Pakistan who were burned by lye. I saw that in early on when I was in high school, and that always stuck with me as being something that was so powerful. So in the future, I hope to focus more on stories and do more projects, because I like being really embedded in a community or with a person, and being able to bring their stories to others and share and foster empathy, as we've kind of discussed. And with that, I'll show you a bit of another project I've been working on. Oh, question?
Hi. I feel like everyone in this industry has kind of tripped and fallen and landed into it one way or another. Can you kind of explain how you tripped and landed, where you did, what made you want to go out and, pick up a camera and tell these stories?
Wow. I don't know. No, I do know.
Was there a specific event that triggered it, or
well,
how did that domino effect, come into where you are right now?
I was always interested in photography. I never had a camera, and I got a camera in my junior year of high school, but I had always wanted a camera before that. But my parents would buy me the little disposable cameras, and I would have to ask permission to take a photo because it cost money. So I would always be really obsessed with that, but didn't get to shoot a whole lot. But then in high school, I took a journalism class and was the only photographer there. And so I was given a camera at that point because I had proven that I was actually interested in it. And I always just had one with me. We'd be on, I ran cross country, and we'd be on the course, and my coach would be telling me to put the camera away because I needed to prep for my race. But I also had my second cousin is French, and when I told him that I wanted to be a journalist, he was like, "Oh, you'll never make money doing that. Pick something else." So I tried. I spent some time not doing photojournalism. I went to school in Iowa for 2 years, and was studying environmental science and philosophy, but really was studying the bars and not doing school very much. But Rick Santorum came to our school and spoke, and Anita Perry came to our school and spoke, and I photographed that for the school newspaper. And it was this whole exciting thing, and I interacted with these people in the photo industry, and I was like, whoa, you guys are cool. And I photographed a punk rock concert, and that was very exciting because I got to have access that was close to my favorite musician. So I just saw it as a way to communicate with people, and I was interested. I've always been someone who's interested in everything and could never pick something that I was totally hooked on. So photography kind of opened that door to be allowed to be interested in everything and everyone, and to talk to strangers, and to kind of be foolish, but also have something to say. I don't know if that answered that, but I hope it did. Okay, this is something else I've been working on for it started off as a documentary film, which we have a trailer for that I'm not going to show, but I started working on this with 2 other people, Sarah Borscheid and Chris Martinez, about these folks who live out in Slab City. And if you don't know what Slab City is, it's this weird anarchist commune in the Salton Sea in Southern California. It's an hour away from the Mexican border. And when I was there, I went for prom. They have a prom. It's kind of their end of the year thing, because in the summertime it gets to be 120 degrees or so. So I went to the prom, and I met this woman and her husband who I fell in love with automatically, because they were so genuine yet also very odd. So this is a project that I've kind of been working on, half about the community, but also focusing more on the woman and her husband, and now they're like children, because they themselves had their 3 children taken away by the state because they were deemed to be unfit parents, but they've kind of adopted other children within the community, and you can see some of that. So this is Slab City. This is where they live. And this is Mariah and Ben, the 2 people I follow outside of their home. They have a giant fence. It's pretty cool. You get to climb over it sometimes. Mariah's 38 and Ben is 52. And that's them in their home, in their trailer. Mariah. The relationship that they have a lot of the time, Ben and Mariah, is that Mariah has to ask permission to really do anything. Slab City is still kind of dangerous at times. There's a lot of meth addicts, there's a lot of convicts, people in hiding, a whole group. And most women there have sort of a protector, I would say, like a male protector, or they walk around with a gun. Every Saturday night, people play music at the range. This was featured in Into the Wild. If you ever saw Into the Wild, that movie, they went there because they play music. That's Papa Jimmy. He's an ex-convict from NorCal. And sometimes on these Saturday nights, locals will come to the area, so people from the closest town, which is about 3 miles away. And on this particular night, they got into a big brawl. I was away from the stage at that point, but like people bring their kids out here and then people get into a giant fight, and that's what they're left with in the morning. Like this guy was like bleeding on the back of the head. It was super gnarly, but I wasn't there at that moment. Guns. And this is what they used to get around with in the slabs, is like really tripped out motorbikes, because there are giant dunes that you have to kind of get around. And this is Marianne. Marianne is kind of like Ben and Mariah's fake daughter, and she's now 9 months pregnant, so she's due any day. She's 19, and she was raised in Slab City. And this is her husband, Jack. And you can see kind of on his arm the scar there. That's from her, Marianne's dad. He attacked him with a lead pipe. Very happy family situation. And Jack has now started using heavy drugs too. So Ben and Mariah have been trying to kind of talk to him about how to raise the child in a way that it won't be taken away by the state. So that's an ongoing project that I'll be working on for a while, quite a long time. So check back in with that. What's the time?
We've got 5-10 minutes to get to you.
Okay. Your question.
How are you spelling Slab?
What?
How are you spelling the name of the town?
Slab, it's just like Slab City. It was originally a military base, like SLAB, like a slab out in the middle of nowhere. And it was originally owned by the military, and then the military vacated, so there's all these unexploded mines back there too that people hunt for. It's pretty crazy.
Looks like Mad Max.
Right? It does a little bit. It does.
Another question. I was just thinking about Mad Max. Actually, my question is, how did you get into the situation of these people? Did you have a contact? Was there something you're interested in, or you just went over there?
We went to prom, and then I just started talking to him. And it's a community that has a lot of people who just come in and are like tourists. So it took a long time for us to get the trust with them and to make them understand that like we weren't trying to just be a tourist there, that we really were interested in what was going on in their lives. And like they call me on the phone every couple of months and they're like, hey, what you doing, Larry? Because they call me Larry, but.
Hi, Hilary. How is your internship at the New York Times going?
Well, that is what I was gonna talk about next. It's been going well. So I started about a month ago with Mark and I both, and the first assignment that we had was Belmont, and that was a really, really wonderful experience for me. The thing about the New York Times that I've realized is that it's like, I don't know, it's not necessarily what I was expecting, but in a really great and wonderful way. Like every day I'm shooting something different, and every day I'm working with a different reporter whose stuff I've been reading for years, and it's like walking into Hogwarts every day. It's Christmas. It's, yeah, only positive things to say. But Belmont, this is from Belmont, and in the morning, in the first part of the day, I was told to like go look for features because each person like had their own station. But in the afternoon, I got to go with the reporter Dan Barry and onto the backtrack and be with all the people who work at Belmont. And that's, to be honest, like much more of something that I think I'm good at, is kind of like the hidden stuff, like kind of away from the action a little bit, like the quieter moments. So I was really, really excited and happy to be doing that. But that's a feature from the actual racetrack, and that's on the backtrack. That's Miguel. He was pretty interesting. And I also thought that this was an area where it was particularly interesting to see really some extremes, because back on the backtrack, most of the people were immigrants and coming from pretty poor backgrounds, whereas on the racetrack, money everywhere. I don't know. It was cool to see that difference. And I didn't actually get to watch the Triple Crown happen because I was taking this picture instead. But it was nice to be around the people who actually work with the horses every day. And then every day at the New York Times, it's something different. So I also do a lot of building mugs, which are great. This is a building mug of the Fulton projects. And it was an outtake from a story that actually ran on Sunday in the real estate section. In case you read that, those were mine photos. And there's been a track meet that we covered, which is funny because I don't often think of myself as a sports photographer, but I've been given a lot of like kind of sports-esque things. And this is a local girl who didn't win. Another funeral that I covered this last weekend of Ornette Coleman, the jazz musician. Yoko Ono was there. Sports. Does anyone else have more questions while we scroll through these about like the internship or anything? Yes.
How long is the intern?
The internship is until August, like the beginning of August-ish. Yeah. And again, it took out the last one, but one day I got to go on top of the World Trade Center, or like to the observatory area, and photograph what was supposed to be like this great storm that turned into a kind of great storm because I was watching it from up high, but I don't know. Yeah.
Questions, anybody? Questions?
Well, I give you a lot of credit. I was a social worker for over 30 years, I wouldn't go to Slab City, I tell you that. They'd have to pay me a lot of money, yeah. What do you think you're going to do after your internship? Is it hard to plan ahead? Or, I mean, the business is so competitive and everything.
It is. And I don't know. I've been trying to think a lot about that. And I guess I reckon I'll probably stay in New York for a while. I don't know how long. I certainly don't intend to like stay in New York. My idea is to go abroad. I'm not sure where abroad yet, but I've been thinking about it. I also would like to go back to Vermont and do an update or expand a story there. And I'd also like to go back to Slab City and keep working on that. So I guess the immediate plan is to keep working on different projects, and then see what happens after that. But work my way overseas somehow, somewhere. I forgot that I had other things. I'll just flip through these while I talk.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Being a New York Times intern, you get to work with not only great reporters every day, but different editors. All the different photo desks there's a dozen of them or something. Would you say that you're getting the most out of going out and shooting and learning to shoot out on your own, or are you getting a lot of feedback and a lot of growth coming from working with these editors?
I'm getting a lot of all of that. The editors there are like really, really great and willing to really sit down with you if they have the time. But there's 56 different editors, so you get to work with like a lot of different people with a lot of different eyes and a lot of different visions. So it's been a really great opportunity to seek out as many opinions as I can and learn as much as you can. Because you go out and you shoot, and maybe it's not the best shoot that you've ever had, but at least you've learned something from it. And that's different from places where I've worked before, where you only work with one editor. So like their vision is the only one, but here you get the opportunity to get a lot of feedback and a lot of different feedback. Yeah.
Any other questions?
No, yeah, sure, yeah.
All right, everybody, give it up for Hilary Swift.